songs, puppets, fun, and mime. Welcome to the story time. Hello, Augustians. We are back. And today's story is about a road. And the book that we have for you today is Library Lion, written by Michelle Knudsen and illustrated by Kevin Hawkes. One day, a lion came to the library. He walked past the circulation desk and up into the stacks. Now imagine a lion walking into a library. Everyone was stunned. Mr. McPee, the caretaker, ran down the hall to the head librarian's office. Miss Merriweather! He called.
No running,
Said Miss Merriweather, without looking up. But there's a lion, said Mr. McPee. In the library,
Is he breaking any rules?
asked Miss Merriweather. She was very particular about rule breaking. Well, no, not really.
Then leave him be.
The lion wandered all around the library. He sniffed the card catalogue. He rubbed his head against the new book collection. And then he padded over to the story corner and went to sleep. No one was sure what to do. After all, no one could mess with a lion. And, anyways, there weren't any rules about lions in the library. Soon it was time for story hour. There weren't any rules about lions at story hour either. The story lady seemed a little nervous, but she read out the first book's title in a good, clear voice. The lion looked up. The story lady kept reading. The lion stayed for the next story as well, and the story after that. He waited for another story, but the children began to walk away. Story hour is over, a little girl told him. It's time to go. The lion looked at the children. He looked at the story lady. He looked at the closed books. And then he roared very, very loud. Miss Merriweather came striding out of her office.
Who is making that noise?
It's the lion, said Mr. McPee. Miss Merriweather marched over to the lion, looked at him up and down, and she said in a stern voice,
If you cannot be quiet, you will have to leave. Those are the rules.
The lion kept roaring. He sounded sad. The little girl tugged on Miss Merriweather's dress. If he promises to be quiet, can he come back for story hour tomorrow? At this, the lion stopped roaring. He looked at Miss Merriweather. Miss Merriweather looked back. And then she said,
Yes, a nice, quiet lion would certainly be allowed to come back for story hour tomorrow.
Hooray! Said the children. The next day, the lion came back.
You are early. Story hour is not until 3 o'clock.
Said Miss Merriweather. The lion did not budge.
Very well. Then you might as well Make yourself useful. Help me. Help me to dust the encyclopedias until it's time for story hour.
The next day, the lion came early again. This time, Miss Merriweather asked him to lick all the envelopes for the overdue notices. And soon it became a routine at the library. Soon the lion did things in the library without being asked. He dusted the encyclopedias, he licked the envelopes, he let small children, just like you, Augustians, to stand on his back to reach books on the highest shelves. Now imagine yourselves standing on the back of a lion. And then at the story hour, he curled up in the story corner to wait for the stories to begin. And I hope that you also look forward to the stories like this library lion. At first, the people in the library were nervous and scared about the lion. But soon they got used to having him around. In fact, it felt like he was fit for the library. His big feet were quiet on the library floor, and he made a very helpful lion. Mr. McBee scowled though when he heard that. He thought, what special is he doing? We were always fine before even this lion was here. No lions were needed, he thought. Lions could not understand rules, and they did not belong in the library. One day, after he had dusted all the encyclopedias and licked all the envelopes and helped all the small children, the lion padded down the hall to Miss Merriweather's office to see what else there was to do. There was still some time left before story hour.
Hello, lion. I know something you can do. You can bring a book back into the stacks for me. Let me just get it down from the shelf.
Miss Merriweather stepped up onto the step stool. The book was just out of reach. Miss Merriweather stood on her toes. She stretched out her fingers. Almost there, she said. And then Miss Merriweather stretched a little too far. Ouch! Said Miss Merriweather softly. And she did not get up. Mr. McBee! Mr. McBee! But Mr. McBee was at the circulation desk on another floor. He could not hear her calling.
Lion, please go and get Mr. McBee.
The lion ran down the hall.
No running.
Even in so much pain, Miss Merriweather stuck to her rules. The lion put his big front paws up on the circulation desk and looked at Mr. McBee. Go away, lion, said Mr. McBee. I'm busy. The lion whined. He pointed his nose down the hall toward Miss Merriweather's office. Mr. McBee ignored him. Finally, the lion did the only thing he could think of to do. He looked Mr. McBee right in the eye, and then he opened his mouth very wide. And roar! Out came the loudest roar he had ever roared in his life. Mr. McBee gasped. You are not being quiet. You are breaking the rules. And Mr. McBee walked down the hall as fast as he could. The lion did not follow him. He had broken the rules. He knew what that meant. And he hung his head and walked towards the door and out of the library. Mr. McBee did not notice. Miss Merriweather! Miss Merriweather! The lion broke the rules! The lion broke the rules! And he burst into Miss Merriweather's office. She was not in her chair. Miss Merriweather? Where are you? The lion! The lion! And there he heard Miss Merriweather from the floor behind her desk.
There is a good reason to break the rules sometimes, even in the library. Now, please go call a doctor. I think I have broken my arm. No running.
Even in so much pain, Miss Merriweather did not forget the rules. The next day, things were back to normal. Almost. Miss Merriweather's left arm was in a cast. The doctor had told her not to work too hard. And Miss Merriweather thought that anyways she will have her lion to help her. But the lion did not come to the library that morning. At 3 o'clock, Miss Merriweather walked to the story corner to check. But the story lady was just beginning a story. The lion was not there. People in the library kept looking up from their books and computer screens, hoping that they would see a familiar furry face. But the lion did not come that day. The next, the next, the next, and for so many days. Everyone in the library was unhappy and sad not seeing the lion. One evening, Mr. McP stopped by Miss Merriweather's office and he asked, "Can I do anything for you before I go, Miss Merriweather?"
No, thank you.
She was looking out the window. Her voice was very quiet, even for the library. Mr. McP frowned as he walked away. He thought there probably was something he could do for Miss Merriweather after all. What do you think, Augustins, he wanted to do for Miss Merriweather? Think, think, think. Mr. McP left the library, but he did not go home that day. He walked around the neighborhood. He looked under the cars. He looked behind bushes. He looked in backyards and trash cans and tree houses. And finally, he circled all the way back to the library. The lion was sitting outside, looking in through the glass doors. "Hello, lion." And the lion did not turn around. But Mr. McB continued, "I thought you might like to know that there is a new rule at the library. No roaring aloud unless you have a very good reason. Say, if you are trying to help a friend who's been hurt, for example." The lion's ears twitched. He turned around, but Mr. McB was already walking away. The next day, Mr. McB walked down the hall to Miss Merriweather's office.
What is it, Mr. McB?
Asked Miss Merriweather in her new, sad, quiet voice. "I thought you might like to know that there is a lion in the library." Miss Merriweather jumped up from her chair and ran down the hall. "No running, Miss Merriweather," said McP, smiling. But Miss Merriweather didn't listen. And everyone in the library was happy and dancing and smiling. After all, sometimes there was a good reason to break the rules, even in the library. Yes, Augustins, the lion was back, and so was all the fun and musty in the library. So that was the story for today. Bye bye, Augustins.